Like, that's what the military is. The military is a people business. Our largest asset are human beings. Like, yes, we have vehicles, weapon systems, time and energy goes into those things. But the thing that makes us who we are is the people. If you want to get things across the line, whatever that is, it almost always comes down to
Stephen Bilbo. Thank you for hanging out with me and joining me in this new podcast venture. You and I met on Skool in the ads lab. We've worked together a bit on your group on the team room, and I really enjoy hanging out with you. So like that's why I'm having you on, because I feel like it's a great way to just catch up and hang out, an excuse to kick it with a friend. But I also appreciate your outlooks on school things. I think they're novel and underrepresented, and I wanted to kick it, talk some school, talk some life with you, and yeah, dude, appreciate you coming on. And you're in Japan right now, right?
I am. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. So kind of tell me about the team room and how like you decided to bring it to school.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, I joined a company called Razorback Tactical probably about 2 years ago with my buddy Phil. We had worked together in the Marines together at the Quantico Sniper School. And he was kind of looking to bring on a business partner to kind of help him run some more back end stuff. So I came on to the company. Me and my wife, actually, Savannah, came on to the company and started kind of working some back end stuff. At that time, I was kind of a heavy consumer of Alex Hormozy's content, and I
Mm,
seen the school platform kind of starting to gain some traction. And I was like, there is a massive educational gap between kind of when our clients come out to our in-person tactical courses to what they're doing kind of when they're at home, so on and so forth. So the
mm,
team room kind of grew out of ability to connect our community in between courses. However, it's kind of grown into more than that now because we're starting to gain more traction on school and more people are seeing our brand. We're kind of now bringing people into the fold first through school, kind of onboarding them onto our program, the kind of try before you buy type deal, and then they're taking the in-person courses in the future. But
mm,
like I said, it was born out of ability just to connect people in between courses, because when people come out to one course, it's kind of a leveled tiered approach. So they'll come out to another course and then another course. What we'd find was there was a lot of educational drop off in between those courses. So this was kind of the
mm.
way that we could stay connected, ensure that people were continuing to train. And at the end of the day, it's education. So that's the space we're in, regardless of like the type of education. But this was just a very smooth transition for us when it came to the content that we want our clients, customers, and teammates to have.
Yeah, and you guys are doing in person like weekend. I mean, are people like staying at your local? You guys are in Virginia for Razorback, right? Is
Yeah,
that
so Phil lives in Virginia, and
okay?
like you said, I'm in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
He runs most all of the from the logistics to the training. He runs most of that with we have a total of 8 people on staff. Most of those active duty Marine snipers. We have one he's a retired sergeant major. He's kind of like he's our go-to guy for a lot of stuff, to be honest. Bobby, he's an awesome guy. If you've ever been inside the group, he's
Mm-hmm.
the older guy with the beard, and he's about as funny as they get. And he's also in Virginia, but we run most of our course out of West Virginia,
Okay.
which is right where we actually stay for a kind of a more popular location. We actually stay in Winchester, Virginia, at a hotel there, and then it's about a 20-minute drive over the state line into West Virginia, where the range is. But
Mm-hmm.
we have three primary training facilities, none in which that we own.
Mm.
Pretty common. We just lease them for the weekends. Basically,
Mm.
pay the range fees. But yeah, people, they're normally 2 to 3 days long, depending on the course. Like our next one that we have coming up, which is our every year in the kind of the beginning of the year. This one we're running in February.
Mm.
We have uh, our alumni gun run, is what we call it, AGR. So it's anybody who's taken a course before. We basically super discount the course, and then it's where we try all of our new drills for the year.
Mm.
So we'll do everything from uh, daytime, nighttime shooting. So we'll get people to bring in night vision devices so guys can shoot at night under nods, and then they'll do shooting out of vehicles, shooting into vehicles, shooting out of vehicles, so on and so forth. So we're kind of bringing in all of our newest kind of training methodologies as we move forward
Mm.
throughout the year, and we can try them on. We can do it with the people there, but they've been to our course before, so it kind
Mm.
of allows us that comfortability, like we already know what we're getting. Like that one's
Mm.
that one is that one's like a 2 day. But then some of the more in depth courses, like our mountain rifleman course, that's a 3 day. That's out at Range
Mm.
One in West Virginia, so that's a little bit further south and west. But that facility allows us, to push out to about 2,000 meters. It's probably one of the it's the
Mm.
premier training facility on the East Coast when it
Mm.
comes to long range.
Is
So
that the one
very,
that yeah, I've seen photos of all your spots? Is this the one like that's like beautiful in the mountains, like
yeah,
long
yeah,
range? It's so
yeah. So
crazy,
that's Range One.
man. Place is
A
cool.
buddy of ours, a long-term buddy of ours, actually owns the property and
Mm.
owns the company Range One with another couple of his buddies, and he allows us to go out and use that facility, which
Mm.
is cool because it's mostly reserved for military units and
Mm-hmm.
such. Not tons of civilian types are able to go out and train in that. So it's a very everyone kind of knows about it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's an exclusive use type
Mm.
situation.
Yeah, it's interesting. So there's this in-person Razorback Tactical outfit. Did you meet these guys because you were all in the military? Like, how did you originally connect and get started with Razorback, or were you there from the very beginning?
So I've known Phil since 2016 when we started working together. Um, we'd kind of bumped into each other a couple times before that, but that's kind of when we started kind of first working together, knowing each other. We actually worked with another company out of Virginia, another tactical training company out of Virginia, doing kind of some of the similar stuff.
Mm.
That company kind of went by the wayside after obviously with the military, you move around a lot, you PCS. So when we left, not that the reason that it went to the wayside was because we left, but it just we stopped working with them because we all kind of went our separate ways. And then, like I said, a couple of years ago, Phil decided that he wanted to, start his own tactical training company. And I was there already, kind of alongside of him, but not as a co-owner.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of turned into, hey, I really want to bring you and Savannah on board to kind of help with some stuff. And so he basically did it a year on his own. Um, Last year was the second year, and we're going into our third year, 2025.
Mm. Did you have that? So the content, I noticed you have a lot of videos in your classroom. Were you making videos with Razorback before you were using Skool for other purposes, or did you make all that stuff for Skool?
That was all Skool. That was
Okay,
all purpose built for Skool.
all purpose built Skool. I was
Yeah,
gonna
we
say, they
went
bring
to
you on like as a tech nerd. Like, where does a tech nerd fit in on the tactical stuff before school? Were you doing? I'm
yeah. So
guessing other stuff.
it's kind of it's funny. So this isn't the first business that me and my wife have been involved in. So we actually um, 2013 to no, it would have been no, it would have been 16 when I met Phil, but it doesn't matter what time. I owned co-owned a fishing charter with my brother Peter
Mm-hmm.
down in Florida. So we did that for about 3 years. We ended up selling it at kind of the high point when the price of boats are very high and the tourism industry was booming in Florida.
Mm.
You can probably recognize around what time that was. And so we ended up selling it, and me and her were kind of always looking for what our next project was going to be.
Mm.
And because we kind of had that, since we kind of had some of that experience, not that we're amazing business operators, but we learned a lot of hard lessons
Mm-hmm.
working. It's service industry is what it comes down to. So dealing with people, dealing with the product, we learned a lot of hard lessons, what to do, what not to do. And then my brother, he owns a couple companies down in Florida, in the marine business, from a yacht detailing company. He also owns a marine construction company.
Mm.
And so me and him have always wanted to go, back in business together. So that's probably a
Mm.
step in the future at some point. We talk about on kind of regular basis, but yeah, so we had that. We're looking for something else. This just seemed to be a kind of uh, a no brainer to us because we knew Phil. My wife and his wife are good friends as well. So it just made a lot of sense for us to go and again, we kind of just wanted to bring some of the back end business stuff onto the team. That's really why even though mine and Phil's backgrounds are very similar from the training courses and our own qualifications. For the most part, he has always been the face of the company, and I've always kind of been in the backdrop, just coming up with all the I'm essentially the good idea fairy. Is
Mm.
essentially what I am.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to hey, we should look into this. Have we looked into that? And just making sure that we don't have our blinders on, making sure we're staying open to, different um, opportunities that arise. And, Skool was just that one, like it stuck out. I mean, it was
Mm.
as soon as like the light bulb went on, I was like, hey, this is a massive opportunity for us. It's, kind of ground level right now. This is something we need to get into. And it wasn't necessarily met with too much friction, but it was a priorities thing. So
Mm-hmm.
we have very limited. The thing that's interesting about what we do is because we're both still on active duty. It priority. Your biggest commodity becomes time,
Mm.
without a doubt, because we both work very very long hours. We both have families. We both try to prioritize our fitness. All these things add into this like world when it's like, well, you know, how do you still run a thriving company? And the bottom line is like, there's not really a lot of balance. You just
Mm.
kind of go through it. You prioritize things when it's time to prioritize things. Like we're about to, Christmas is coming up, and there'll be a lot of prioritization of families. But we're also not going to be at our normal job, so there'll be kind of probably more prioritization of team room
Mm.
and Razorback stuff
Mm-hmm.
over the next 10 days. But yeah, when it comes to an opportunity that Skool provided us was, hey, it kills two birds with one stone. It gives us an online learning platform, and it gives a place for our clients to come
Mm-hmm.
and thrive as a community.
Mm. It stood out to me that you you chose Skool, and really I don't know that anyone else has chosen Skool for something like what you chose. And so you're kind of blazing the trail for a use case that I actually think is really really valuable way to use Skool, which is to use it as this extension for more connection. But then it turned into this potentially this lead gen thing where you're actually generating leads to your in person now as well, and you're and you're like for your vision. has your vision for how Skool will be used for the business overall, like, has that changed as you've used the platform, as you've gotten feedback, as you started running some ads? Like, do you feel differently now than what you thought you'd be using Skool for?
No, I mean, I think the vision that we thought we would use school for, it hasn't really changed really. It's kind of, but it's been kind of, uh, some for exemplified in a fashion that we originally were just bringing it in for our already customers base that we already had. So we were kind of looking at it as like we get people come to the in-person courses, then they get access to our community. They're with us in the community, and then that'll keep them connected in between, course, school, course. What it's turned into now is onboarding people on that have never attended any of our in-person courses, and what you'll find is like we have a lot of people who we have a lot of military guys, ex-military guys, veterans who
Mm-hmm.
they're on because they're firearms or hunting enthusiasts, but more than anything they enjoy the like-minded community that we offer. So it's a lot of military guys, a lot of active duty and retired guys in there. Then you have the guys who the shoot the long range. They're high end competitors. They enjoy coming on because we bring on a lot of the subject matter experts to talk about things that matter to them. Talk to things that
Mm.
like could be the difference between winning and losing a match, coming in first or second, and we have those people on. Um, the instant connection you get with people who have the answers. There is you said it, like there's no gap of tactical training companies. The defense industry, the firearms industry, $1 billion industry. There's no lack of people. There's no lack of content for sure. Specifically, you get on YouTube and start cruising around, like it can become a very daunting task, regardless of your experience levels, regardless of
Yeah.
how long you've been doing it. It can become a very daunting task. So what we've tried to do is distill down, okay, what matters, distill down, okay, this is your experience level. How can we, in the next, 30 days, take you to where you need to be without you having to do a lot of the work behind finding, even if you've never haven't even bought your first rifles, like where do you start? What are you looking to do? What's your budget look like? Like there's so much that goes into it. And to be fair, there's so much money to be wasted. Just
Mm.
like, we run ads for the company. There's a lot of people that run ads, and not everything is as good as they say it is. And you can be sold on a lot of things that, to be fair, are a waste of money or severely overpriced, and just not worth what you're going to pay for it. So we've tried to kind of distill it down. But going back to your first point, there are a few companies on Skool that kind of offer. We're the only ones really that have like the full spectrum of training with the in person and the online. What I'll say is, and just from a user experience, most of the tactical training companies who have communities and very large communities. I mean, and by no means are we, the leading company in this right now at all. While at Skool we are, when you look at Patreon,
Mm-hmm.
right, there are a lot of tactical training companies and very reputable, like industry leading companies that are on Patreon.
Oh, they use
Um,
Patreon.
um,
Interesting.
what's that?
They use Patreon.
Yeah, yeah. It's probably, I won't say who it is, but like probably the industry leader. I mean, guys that I like respect the hell out of. They are, um, they do so much good. Not just they're brilliant when it comes to they're more in the like close quarters pistol rifle. They kind of stay away from the long range stuff like we do, and we do kind of separate that because that is kind of two while they're both firearms, they are kind of two separate worlds. Um, but yeah, and I mean, tens of thousands of members, tens of
Mm-hmm.
thousands of members. The issue with Patreon is it does not have the same type of functionality as Skool does. Like, it's not even close, in my opinion. When I look
Mm-hmm.
at the user experience I have, because I mean, obviously I have a Skool group, but I'm part, I think, of 9 other Skool groups.
Mm-hmm.
To include the Ads Lab and a couple other ones that I use, on a daily basis to gain information and education from, and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But the community functions aren't really what they are. Their classroom function isn't really classroom function, more just, this is a place to post videos. Sure, you can categorize them, but it just doesn't have the same feel to it, like you're going in it to learn.
Yeah.
And so when I saw Skool, and I was like, man, like this is it. Like, this makes perfect sense. And then we went out to, originally what we did was we just straight up videotaped our in-person courses. That's what we did. That was our first couple videos.
Mm-hmm.
We just went out with a suboptimal camera, and had a buddy of ours that like knew his way around a camera.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, I'll videotape. I'm like, all right, cool. And we literally just like one shot takes of them like teaching the classes in the classroom, going out to the range, shooting the drills, so on and so forth. It wasn't a deliberate filming session. We had
Yeah.
all of our clients still there. Everything was still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then what we ended up doing is filming these. So this is actually, funny enough, this is actually inside of the hotel that we stay at when we
Oh,
go
really?
to. Yeah, so we brought the whole team in to it's a Marriott conference room is what it
Oh,
is.
got
We
you.
brought the whole team in for the weekend, and we had everything scripted out, planned it out. My wife is pretty much. I could send you some behind the scenes stuff. But essentially, I'm behind the camera. My wife is directing. We have an observer in the back, and then we have a secondary cameraman. So between all of us, this was essentially, we had the whole setup scheduled for essentially a whole day. So we filmed all of this content in one day, one
Wow.
Saturday.
So
It started.
all the pistol core courses. So what all of the other courses as well somewhere in here?
So yeah, so if you go, so we have the pistol core, the CMOP level 1, and
Mm-hmm.
the LRPC level 1.
Man, that's a lot of stuff. That was 1 hour on that other one. You get an hour here. You get all these other videos. I mean, how
Yeah, we
many?
filmed till about midnight, and then
Wow.
the second day, we went out and did all of the drills. So
Hmm.
if you go down here, same page, yep, the
Yeah.
standard. So click on those. We filmed all of these all
Dang.
in one day as well, for both pistol and rifle.
Dang.
Um,
You guys are
so
hard working folks. I'll tell you what.
yeah, well, the thing, and that's what it comes down.
Yeah.
It's time, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's prioritization of time. Like, that is our biggest asset, and we knew that, like, content matters, like quality of content matters. When someone hops onto this, like, they want it needs to be a good viewing experience. That's what
Yeah.
we knew. Number one. Number two, we were like, we wanted to have some authority in this space,
Mm-hmm.
and if you look around to the kind of the brands or the other videos of the people who have that current authority, there's an expectation out there from the kind of tactical world of what that content's going to look like. And so, yeah, so it's one of those things that we kind of dived in deep. We said, we need to make sure that the content we put out is the best content we possibly can,
Mm-hmm.
but we have 2 days. That's what we
Mm.
can. We have 2 days. That's it.
Man.
And my wife's family basically came up with a schedule script, which basically covered down on every single minute, second of that day,
Wow.
and we
So your
executed.
wife's pretty familiar with with the what you're teaching and like shooting and tactical stuff as well.
Yeah, so she's been with me. We've been married about as long as I've been in the Marine Corps, about 16 years. We
So
we
she's
actually
like
met in high school.
inadvertently a military sniper as well, just secondhand military sniper at this point. Like
She would love that you would have said that,
in a
but
pinch, like
yeah.
she could
So
wreck it all. Yeah.
so she's getting more, and again, it comes down. She's up. This isn't her only job either. She owns another company where she runs kind of like back end logistics for people and admin logistics for people.
Mm.
So she does that and helps out with this. But I try to incorporate her into as much of all of this as possible, because her intuition is out of this world. I
Mm.
don't. There has been times where I have executed on things that she said, "Hey, I don't know if this is a good idea," and they almost always turn out to be not good ideas. Almost
Yeah,
always.
that's
So
awesome
I
to
have,
have.
and to
Wow.
be fair, that was one of our big lessons that we learned with the fishing charter.
Hmm.
On some things I didn't necessarily take the advice I should have taken, and I learned some hard lessons about my own ego, my own pride, of how to really take in people's and I don't know how she does it, but she has this kind of intuition, gut feeling, whatever you want to call it, that is almost always right. So I try to learn the hard way, but it's something that I've learned and has treated us very well, and even in this kind of business. But she's came out to a couple of our courses. So she went out to one of the pistol courses last year. So she tries. Obviously, us being Japan, that kind of makes things a little bit more difficult.
Hmm.
But when we were in Virginia, she tries to play an active role as not just like, she understands the back end side of things. No issues. Can she hop on a call and necessarily have all the answers like probably me and Phil will have? Probably not, right? But what she does understand is the perspective of being the student.
Mm.
Because for us, one of our critical the ability to transfer the knowledge we have to someone who doesn't have the base of knowledge or experience that we have is difficult.
Mm.
When you talk about the individuals who we have on the team, you know they you know they essentially have reached the pinnacles of their careers, in like kind of the marksmanship and tactical realms. So this is from
Hmm.
the long range precision fires piece. So there's a lot of common speak that we have. There's certain
Hmm.
lingos that we have. I know in some of our conversations, you probably caught it, and you're like, "What is he? What is he talking about? What does that acronym mean?"
Mm.
We talk in these circles sometimes, and my wife kind of keeps us grounded. Even during those videos, we'll say something, and she'll be like, "No, back, rewind it. We
Mm.
can't. We have to like plain speak it. We
Hmm.
can't speak in we can't you guys can't speak in your secret lingo, that no one knows what that means, or the person who's going to see this doesn't know what that means. You're just going to confuse them." And I'm
Mm.
like, we wouldn't have thought of that.
That's got to
Because
be
like
so vast being in the military too. I mean, it's got to be
a 100%.
a part of your
And the more you
language.
niche down, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can talk about like weapon safety rules, sure. Like most people know that. Those are pretty standard across the board, right? But when you start talking, especially when you start going to long range stuff, where you're starting to go into more of the science, the data, the math that goes behind a lot of that stuff, especially Phil, he's a good old boy from West Virginia, so he's got a little back end draw on him. So when he gets going, when he gets excited, he gets going, and sometimes you got to slow him down a little bit because he gets excited. But yeah, so that's a very valuable thing that we and even to this day, as we go through stuff, having that critical eye of saying, okay, does this make sense? A good example is like last night. I appreciate the form you sent me, and I was kind of going through how we could kind of create our own thing, because
Mm.
our onboarding process basically starts with a pre-training assessment, which basically takes people's information in, kind of gives their like, okay, this is what I'm about, this is what I've done, and now what we're kind of working towards is how can we streamline that even more, and then actually, like right now it's a PDF document that I
Mm.
just send them, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
now what we've done is I've created a legitimate fillable form where I can capture all the data points inside our CRM, which
Mm.
again is a massive thing because it allows us to keep up with our customers. But more importantly, to that point is like we can easily distill down how we are teaching our classes so that we are encompassing everybody and we're not excluding anybody, because we do have a wide range of experience within the community, all the way
Yeah.
from guys who are ex like Army marksmanship training unit, which I know again AMU probably doesn't mean a lot to you or a lot of people are watching, but in the military community, they're like they win all the marksmanship competitions. Like they are like
Mm.
that's all they do. They basically join, they get recruited, and they stay in that unit for their entire career. And all they do is she's very similar to our Marine Corps marksmanship team. Um, and so we got a guy, he retired, did 20 years. He was part of that unit. He owns his own like kind of training company.
Mm-hmm.
But he comes in to us because we're offering something not a lot of people are offering from a training perspective, but also because the people that we have on, we have, due to our the nature of the people that we've interacted with and met over over our careers, we've gained a lot of friendships,
Mm-hmm.
and we're similar to what we're doing right here is very similar to what happens during like our Bullets and Bourbon series, as well as our subject matter exchange series, where we have guys on that we've known decades, and we've
Mm-hmm.
had multiple of these conversations. But
Mm.
now it's just putting it on video and exposing the community to those same people to build those relationships.
Mm.
And it's been phenomenal. It's been a phenomenal experience because really at the end of the day, that's all they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not, and these guys, it's not like they're pushing products and saying our stuff is the best out there. They're just talking about the facts. Like they just want
Mm-hmm.
people to know. We've had guys on. We've had owners of suppressor companies, ammunition companies. Our recent one was a barrel company, Bartline Barrels, was just on. And so if you go to the classroom, go back up to the classroom
Yeah.
and go to SMEX, the third one over there, top right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like though we've done 3 so far, but these are people who are subject matter experts in their field, and we'll be the first ones to say like we're not, we're between me and Phil and our other instructors, like we're not the end all be all know everything. But there
Mm-hmm.
are people out there that are like the guy in this recording from Bartlett and Barrels, Frank
Yeah.
Green. He's been with that company forever, and he would come to talk to us when we were at the sniper school about barrels and
Mm.
everything barrels related. And I mean the knowledge that he has in his head. I
Yeah.
mean, this was probably our longest one. I think this one almost went 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah. 2.5 hours.
Um,
So these are all sort of exclusive subject matter expert videos that you're putting in your group. Looks like you're starting to do this like every month or so, maybe.
Yeah, we try to fill one spot a month. So we have our Bullets and Bourbon that we run weekly, and then we try
Mm-hmm.
to fill one of those Bullet and Bourbon sessions with a smack. So at least we
Oh,
always have a
cool.
weekly touch point
Right.
with inside of our community. Right now, it's Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Mm.
Um, our typical Bolts and Bourbon, they're also cool too because we have a focused topic. So it's not like we're just hopping on and sitting around the campfire and, singing Kumbaya. We get on there and, we have something that we're going to hit that either
Mm-hmm.
most of the time it's coming out of the community. Most of the time
Mm-hmm.
it's a question that popped up and we're like, hey, they're asking the question about it. I'm like, yep, solid point. We need to cover it. And this is kind of where we just catalog everything that we do and we teach, and we try to do our best to kind of again distill it down. We take, you can look at the the carbine top and bottom three, stuff like that. Like that's like, hey, what if you're looking at a rifle, what's like the top three things you need, and like the bottom three things don't waste your time on. That
Yeah.
like you'll get people tell you like, oh, you should get this, you get like, because there's so many things to get, there's so many things to do,
Yeah.
that it really can give a lot of there's a lot of falsities out there. There's a lot, and to be fair, like there's also inside of, like, if you were to go on a lot of these like Reddit streams, Facebook free
Mm.
chats, loads of negativity out there.
Mm.
Not
Mm-hmm.
and not everyone on those chats are bad by any means, but we had one customer. I said, hey, what brought you to the team room? Like, what was? He's like, well, I was part of this Facebook group, and I had just bought my wife a new pistol, and I was looking for a holster to get her. So I hop on one of the free Facebook chat groups, and I put it up there. It's like, hey, wife's got this pistol, just bought it for her, super excited about it. I'm looking for a holster to conceal it. Like, hey, does anybody have any good suggestions? He said like 90% of the comments were all like, why does she have that pistol? Oh, you shouldn't have bought her that pistol.
Mm.
Like, oh, that pistol's too big for her. That's not a woman gun. That's a man gun.
Mm-hmm.
And like, he'd already bought the pistol.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he didn't need people to crack in there and be like, oh, that's the wrong thing.
Mm.
He needed someone to pop in there and say, hey, here are some holster options, A, B, and C.
Mm-hmm.
Different price points. Because with everything, you have your cheaper and you have your more expensive, especially in the tactical realm.
Yeah.
That's goes with everything. But he didn't need someone to hop in there and judge his previous buying decisions.
Yeah.
He needs someone to give him like what he needed at the time so he can make a decision.
I've seen this consistent thread with a lot of school groups, which is just that, like, there's something about the way the product was created and infused that makes it easier to facilitate like actual human connection that is missing from the existing social media tools. Like, they're built in this way that doesn't facilitate that because they're built around engagement and we want to keep people on the platform as much as possible. And so the tools are designed for this other thing. But Skool is designed with the intent of like maximum human connection is sort of really important, and they just want people to connect. And it might not always feel like you have to do a lot of creative work to take your whole offer and bring it to school and then get people connecting. There is a lot of like just grit that you just got to go hard to actually get people to connect. But I do think that it's like a common thread I've noticed among the people that have figured out the getting people to connect on Skool thing is that they're striking out everywhere else. And they were applying the same type of creativity in other ways in other places, but it just never worked. Like for Patreon or Facebook group, for instance, like you don't reach people consistently on those platforms. And like,
No, and
yeah.
and even from a good example, we don't have, our organic social media following isn't like spectacular. I think we're sitting, around 1,500 on both Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at those platforms and how people connect on those, and the issue is there's no accountability or cost of entry.
Mm.
And I'm not throwing shade on free communities or whatever, but
Yeah.
there is this feeling of I am part of something, so then I must move this thing that is good forward.
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's what we see within our group. We'll get guy, and to be fair, like our group's not for everybody, right? Like guys will get in, they're like they either like because it takes Phil says it quite a bit, but like it takes work, and the unfortunate part and especially in our niche when it comes to firearms and marksmanship, like it's not an overnight fix thing. And it's sometimes can be a hard sell when we're like, hey, come in, like we can give you all of this knowledge and help you work through it, but like at the end of the day, like you got to put in some work to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And but what we found is that once we have people in our pipeline, so we have the 7-day free trial, they'll come in. If it's for people, it's not for people, we onboard every single one, and we kind of understand who probably, based off what we know, who will stick around, who won't. But we give them everything that we would give, anybody who's fully signed up. And then once they're in, I mean, we don't have a super high churn rate.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason behind that is because once they're in, we don't have a super high churn rate. I think our conversion on free trials right now, I think is 50%. But
Dang.
we don't have a super high. We don't have a super like our 30-day churn rate for this month is 0. Like we've had no one leave, and that's
Mm-hmm.
because people get in and they feel this like obligation, not just to themselves to learn, but to the community. And I think that's something that lacks in your like Facebook, Instagram levels. Like there's no accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Like your actions on there are going to have 0 consequences, or can have 0 consequences on yourself because we've all seen it. People get on there, say whatever they want to say. They can be the authority in anything they want to be that day.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that all time. The minute something happens, going back to like your New Jersey story earlier,
Mm-hmm.
right? About the stuff surrounding that situation, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
anybody can be the authority if they want to be the authority. So what
Mm-hmm.
I think the cool thing about Skool is it kind of helps. It is built around the community, right? It's not necessarily, I mean, yes, there's the content function and it brings people, it's that education piece because like that we are in the education sector, like that is 100% where we rest. But that people will come soak up all the content, and we have hours and hours. I mean, it would take you weeks to get to the amount of content that we have, like a full-time job. But like they stay for the community. Like that's why they stay. If the community didn't exist, it would not be the type of platform that we would necessarily be looking to be in. And I think that's why we haven't done Patreon, because the functionality inside of there from a community standpoint just is not good in my aspect, as far as like interacting and actually putting up like quality threads that are
Mm-hmm.
meaningful to people. It just doesn't have the same feel to it.
I had the same take. I actually was considering Patreon right before school. I was running an e-commerce store, still am, and I was like looking for ways to connect with people and to recapture my audience because I felt like on social media it's like we had a bunch of followers, 35,000 followers, but it's like 100 views on a story or something. And I'm like, what is the point of all these followers? I'd rather
Yeah,
have like just half of these people in a Patreon and I could reach them all. And I didn't know about Skool, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, maybe I should go to Patreon. And so I was investigating Patreon. There were no use cases for e-commerce people on Patreon. So I was like trying to think of how to do it for me. One of those, I like kind of making my own things and just I didn't care that people weren't on Patreon. I was willing to figure out a way to do it, but I couldn't. And when I found Skool, I was like, this is cool. And I feel like yeah, there's the right function for community in this place that isn't quite in the it's just not quite there for the existing platforms where you just want your audience to actually connect. Like you don't just want to make money. You don't just want to like build a giant list of people that don't care about you. You actually want to connect with people at whatever
absolutely.
scale that ends up being. Whoever, and that's a different. It's this sort of yeah. For you, How does being in the military influence how you all are building a community? Do you feel like it must really influence the way you put a community together? Is the community of military and the brotherhood of that very much infused? Is that a big part for you?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, without a doubt. Uh, and we're, for anybody who spent time in the military, it is a, massive brother sisterhood of people. And so you understand, having been in that realm, you understand the nuances of what it means to be inside of a community. You understand, basically we talked about earlier, like there's actions, reactions, there's consequences to those actions, good and bad. And you bring some of that same type of energy into, maybe, and not everyone that we have, is military or has affiliation to military. The large majority of our guys do not. A lot of them, are people who are just very interested in the marksmanship world. They're very interested in the firearms world. And like I said, we have a wide range of people from, a Lance Corporal in the military and the Marine Corps, all the way up to, dentists and surgeons, right? So, we have this massive wide range of individuals, all with different experience levels, all with different interests, and being able to kind of being the melting pot for that, where we bring everybody around a like-minded common goal of just getting better each day, 1% better each day. And I think I would say from a running the group standpoint, and the community standpoint, ties directly back to, the experiences and, leadership styles and everything else. And, me and Phil, we bring something, each of us brings something different to the table,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I think from a business standpoint, we try to incorporate as much of the, current operations planning, future operations planning. Phil's way better at it than me because that's kind of his current space right now. But yeah, it definitely intertwines, but in a very good way. It
Yeah.
helps us. And to be fair, like going back to the subject matter exchange conversation, like it's we're in a people business. Like that's what the military is. The military is a people business. School is a people business. Like so, they perfectly align from a standpoint of
What do you mean
uh, you
by
know
that? The people
morals and
business.
ethics and everything. Like at the end of the day, like it is a people business. Sorry, say it again.
Yeah, I cut out for a second. What do you mean that it's a people business? Say more on that.
Yeah, so we use this kind of term, like the Marine Corps is, it's a massive organization if you would look at it from like a corporate structure. We have a structure. We have a rank structure. We have a CEO, the commandant, right? And then he works for the big boss, right? So like we're a massive corporation, even though people don't necessarily look at the military or the Marine Corps in specific like that. But at the end of the day, like our largest asset are human beings. Like yes, we have vehicles, we have weapon systems, lots and lots and lots of money, time and energy goes into those things. But the thing that makes us who we are is the people. It's not a product. Uh,
Mm.
while we do provide a service to the American people, it is centered directly around that individual and people. And it's all about the way things work in the military is all about the relationships that you build, with the ones around you, the ones below you, and the ones above you. It
Mm.
is there's no shortage of, if you want to get things across the line, whatever that is, it almost always comes down to building that relationship, building that rapport, and getting, and not in like a devious way, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a very, um, you know, wanting to help out way is the kind of the best way that I can explain it in like the simplest terms.
Mm-hmm.
That like, but that's a direct like that to me when I hear, Alex Ramosi talking, when I hear Sam talking, uh, they're echoing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They are like
Mm-hmm.
it is people now. Granted, it's a business, right? I acknowledge that people are making money. I get that, right? But Sam said something very interesting on one of his on one of their one day recordings. It was, asking a guy like, hey, what's your end goal? He's like, I just want to help people. And he's like, and how much you charge for your community? He's like, set a number or whatever. He's like, well, if you really just want to help people, you'd make it free.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I see where you're going with this, right? But at the end of the day, like what he was trying to get across is like you can't just get people to pay stuff and then like push them off, right? Is what he was kind of getting at. It's like you provide what you're saying you're going to provide, help people out. Like if they're going to pay you money, like provide them what they're asking to be given, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
come like make a promise, keep your promise,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that ties in largely, to the honor piece that that the Marine Corps and the military kind of preach is like, we live we sure there's business ethics. We can agree on that, but people kind of can outline what those look like. When you're in the military, you fall under a very clear cut set of rules and guidance, and that's your life. That's not just when you're at work. That's in anything you do. There's there's the expectation that you uphold. Our core values in the Marine Corps: honor, courage, and commitment. You
Mm-hmm.
can dive down each of those, and depending on what community you have, there's multitude of other attributes that follow. But we hold ourselves to a high level, not just in the military, but we hold ourselves to a high level, just dealing with people on a day-to-day basis. And I think that has truly been helped us as we design this thing, because you want things to happen overnight, and we know that it's not, right? Like being around long enough, having done things in the business world, like it doesn't happen overnight, right? Building a company doesn't happen overnight. Anything good takes time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so because we've adapted those those morals and ethics within the company, within the community alone, it's given us a lot of it gives us a lot of patience. It gives us a lot of very clear focus of what the future will be, but it doesn't need to happen now. We obviously, if there's ways that we can speed things up through just who sees our stuff from an ads perspective, yeah, we're
Yeah.
all about that. But at the same time, like we we have certain areas and milestones that we have already like established, that like once we hit those, we'll take a tactical pause, and we're gonna be
Mm.
like, okay, what do we need to do? Like, are we ready to move on to the next? Like, is everything in place so that we can continue providing, and delivering on the promise that we've said we can? Because inherently, as you get more people, things get a little bit more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And do we have the right people in place? Do we have the right processes in place, or all the SOPs in place, so that we ensure that if something happens, the people who we are entrusting to deal with this are delivering in the same way, with the same morals, with the same ethics that we would deliver with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that our brand and our vision stays where we want it to stay. And yeah, I don't think we would have come at it the same way if we hadn't had the kind of the background that we have.
Mm. How do you think about your goals for your school group? I know a lot of people on Skool, their goals are, probably a little shallow. It's like, my goal is I want this much MRR, and then that's the only bit to it. And maybe that's a good goal, but I feel like different people think about goals differently. How do you think about goals? What do you want to achieve with your school group?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we look at our school group as a way to propel our in-person group
Mm-hmm.
from a financial standpoint, from a monetary standpoint. Um, we look to use that so we can make those courses better, right? We look at it so that, like, otherwise it would be, again, we could give this content for free and then just have people come out to our in-person courses once they figure it out. But the reason that we do charge for our for the community is so that we can ensure that there is a pool of money that we can pull from to just make those courses that much better, whether that's from a targetry standpoint, whether that's bringing in, special optics, weapons, and such. But I think from, from a goals standpoint or a vision standpoint is, we really haven't, you know, we're lucky. We're not, we're not dependent on school to pay our bills.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line. So it's a double-edged sword. We talked about it because then it comes at a time. That's when it becomes, time then becomes your most, critical asset because, we have our day to day, and, between, myself and Phil, like we don't, even the in-person courses, we don't depend on any of that income, to, survive and give our, family and our kids, the good life that they deserve. We don't depend on any of that. So
Mm.
that provides us a lot of flexibility. When it comes to making decisions within the business of, you can make a decision that's going to make money quick, that you might otherwise make if that is what you were dependent on,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's not 100% the right decision. Or if you get approached, we get approached quite often about, doing stuff, and sometimes the people just don't align with our brand. They just don't align with, our values, and, we say, hey, maybe in the future, but not right now. But most
Yeah.
likely not in the future either. Um, but you run into stuff like that all the time, and for us, it's pretty clear. Like we want to grow this community so that we have the ability to, instead of having, envision this, instead of having all of our courses in West Virginia, we have a community where we can cluster individuals together. So, you're out on the West Coast. We would come and we do a West Coast like gathering, team room
Mm.
gathering. We would come out and we like, because that's logistically, that's kind of one of the harder portions for people is like, okay, now they got to get to West Virginia. Now they got to,
Yeah.
get hotel rooms. Like, so yeah, you got the course price, which isn't cheap, like our in-person courses aren't cheap, to come out there, because like they're also not very, they're not cheap to run,
Mm-hmm.
from a business aspect. But like, how cool would that be? That like we have a cluster of 12 people, 15 people, 30 people out on the West Coast,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, hey, we started like, hey, the West Coast, our West Coast gathering is happening at this date, like open enrollment, first come, first serve. They fill
Mm.
up. And now like we can provide the same value that we are able to provide in West Virginia. We just go elsewhere and provide that same value.
Mm. I bet you're
Um,
excited
so
about the school map feature coming out for each group then. Have you heard about this?
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I have. Yes.
I know that they really want to prioritize it. It's somewhere up there with affiliates in their priority list, I bet. And I feel like for a group like yours, it's going to be super nice. Just it's a tab, it's a map where people are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that'll be, I mean, that's something that we've already got our hands on, and track,
Mm-hmm.
um, for definitely for like future use from that standpoint, to see like where our clusters of people are, where we're kind of reaching out to, like where are our pockets of people at.
Yeah.
But more importantly, the end of the year team room custom Christmas gift,
Ooh.
which has been shipped and should be arriving at your
Yes.
doorstep soon.
Dude,
I
I'm so
know.
excited.
I know Phil. Phil received a shipment this morning, so they
Yes.
should be. They should be coming to a Christmas tree near you very soon.
Man, I'm excited.
Very
Should I wait?
excited.
Do you want me to
But
wait till Christmas
it's
to open it?
no. You can open it whenever you want. But like stuff like that's we would not have that wouldn't even been a possibility if
Mm-hmm.
Skool wasn't a thing, right?
Yeah.
To be fair, because like stuff like that, it's not cheap, but we're like, yeah, why wouldn't we, right? Because like those are the things when we're looking at things like how can we, even if we're improving somebody's marksmanship by 1% a day, or just quality of life 1% a day, or their ability just to hop on a call and talk to a bunch of like-minded individuals, like care less, like if they're not necessarily in the mindset of where they want to, where they're getting up every day and dry firing, it's fine, right? Like we're all in different spots in our life when it comes to when it comes to what we're doing. Some chaotic, some less chaotic, but at the end of the day, like if we can provide that one little piece of value from a friendship, community, education standpoint, we're doing our job. And there's loads of metrics out there that we track, but I think at the end of the day, like the most important metric that we track is like that human dimension, the human connection. And if we're continuing to deliver on that, I think we're in a very, very good spot.
Yeah. It's like I like it. It's like you use the school group to add a level of quality to your in person and to just add additional connection with people. And also the cost of your school group compared to the cost of your high ticket, there's probably no sticker shock for anybody to join. It doesn't seem like you have 0% churn in the last month. So it feels like you're going slow so that you just for this season can just focus on quality and improvement and connection. And it feels like if you do that, then growth, if you have the patience to do that, like there'll come a time when growth will probably catch up to where you want it to be if your focus is on the right things. But that's hard to be patient with for many people.
Well, I mean, and to be fair, like on a day-to-day basis, I have to remind myself to be patient, right? And more so, my wife has to remind me to be patient,
Mm-hmm.
because that is you want, especially when like especially Skool. Like I get super excited about like new features. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's like I think I just wait till like the next new feature comes out, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, getting on that. And like I'm a type of guy that's like I do a lot. I'm very hyper focused and do a lot of deep work. So when I get started on a project, like I'm gonna get that thing to like 80% before I go to bed. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Not the most healthy thing in the world, but like I'm a very like once I get in a groove, I don't like getting out of it, because
Mm.
like that's when I know I do my best, most creative, meaningful work is when I get in those grooves. And so, from a from that standpoint, like going back to like being in the military and still being active duty, both me and Phil, um, the transitional goal here for myself and for him is, when we do end up transitioning out, that we'll transition this into the full-time thing, which is awesome. I think to like, there's a lot of people who get out of the military and don't necessarily have a plan or something to go directly into,
Mm-hmm.
especially not something that provides as much flexibility as this, for sure. And but man, I got time. I got all
Mm-hmm.
but time. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
you know I've been in 16. I'll go well over 20. So
Mm-hmm.
I have time. So I do have to remind myself that every day, that like, hey, just make it better, provide the value, if you see something that you can change, it's going to inherently make something easier or more streamlined, do it. Like that was me last night. Spent about like 4 hours creating a form on HubSpot, to create everything and merge it all over. And now I'm like, I'm like, why did I not do this? Like I've been a member of HubSpot for like over a year. And I was like, how have I not, so and the only thing that brought up was talking to you about your guys' kind of process of getting people in. And I'm like, it was a light bulb moment. I was like, duh, like, why have I not been doing this and like not capturing all of the data points that I can to ensure that we're providing the best type of training? Because at the end of the day, like we have the pulse on the community, and our courses that we teach, the recordings that we make, the bullets and bourbons that we do, the smexes that we do, that all ties into the pulse of the community. If we need to spend time on, cleaning guns, which is like, that's a massive, like, that's like sometimes stuff that we don't even think about, because sometimes that like and I'm not saying it's elementary, because believe it or not, I the last smex we had with barrels, I thought I knew what I was doing when it came to cleaning weapons. And then Frank was like, went on a whole different, and I'm like, oh my God, why have I been in 16 years? This is the first time I'm hearing this. So you always reach those levels to where you think, you have something, fully synthesized and a complete understanding of. And then, you have a guy like Frank come on and just like destroy everything that you potentially thought to be true in the past. But that's sometimes what people want. People want like those kind of very small things that seem kind of rudimentary, elementary, into like a seasoned marksmanship professional like myself, Phil, and our other instructors kind of maybe isn't like the sexy thing to talk about, right? But like sometimes that's what they want to hear. And so that's the good thing about a community, is like they're telling us, like we're not guessing at, like the content that we create isn't like a guess. Like nothing we do, from our organic posts to our Facebook ads to the content we put on like the Skool group, like that is all driven by what's happening inside the community. And that is the community is a data set of people, of our population, who enjoy our thing. So, no different than, a pixel, on Facebook marketing, where you have, that thing where they're trying to tie it to certain things. Is like, we have that group, and guess what? Our reach is 100%. We're not, we're reaching, anybody who's logging in is seeing what we're putting out and is putting back and is answering. And so it's just super exciting, because it's something that we have, talked about a while, about doing something along these lines. And now you can just really see it's starting to, the wheels are really starting to turn, and things are really starting to kind of happen. And what it is, it like you said, it's a patience game, like slow improvements every day. And, sometimes, you can do one thing for a month and it not necessarily work. It doesn't mean that it's not working. It's the timing isn't right, or you need to fix something, or so on and so forth. You can't just write things off right away just because, you haven't seen, it produce. You just you got to give it time. You got to have patience with it. Especially talking to, Facebook, marketing, I know Alex Hormozy talks about it, where, 1 month you lose 5, next month you lose 5, next month you lose 5. And then next month it's like, oh, you made 5. And the next month you make 10, then you make 15, then so it's like, it is a patience game. And that's kind of having, working with you guys, Skool, it was kind of giving me a lot of that, has given me a lot of that confidence and patience to have. Okay, I, as a newcomer to like successfully, let's put it that way, successfully running, Facebook ads, I would 100% second guess myself if I was doing them. I would have. I can tell you, right, I would not still be probably doing what we're doing like right now, from a Facebook, because I just wouldn't have that level of confidence. I would be second guessed that I'm doing something wrong or something, but like it is like, and you see, you see the time, the effort, and the attention, the detail that has to go into when you're creating these things, and then more importantly, seeing what right looks like. I
Mm-hmm.
think for me, that's the key. It's like I needed somebody that I could go to that could show me what right looked like, could show me kind of the process, how we get from A to B, and it's been it's been a phenomenal experience.
Your your group puts in like really high quality effort into the tasks that you kind of need to get through to build out ads, because we've worked together on your ads, and I really often it's hard to get through. You got to you got to write the VSL, you got to shoot it, you got to kind of run some ads. You're striking out for a while, and you're like, right now we're in a point where it's the holidays, and I've noticed just like everyone's ads are pretty down. Even ours, like we usually
Yep.
get customers for $70 a pop for our group. Right now, our customers, they're like 250, like $300, and so
Yeah.
we're just turning ads down right now because we need to plan for some kind of campaign where we are going to push for better returns, like when that moment comes, and it's probably going to be like end of year, beginning of year. But it's like it isn't discouraging us to the point of turning anything off and being done ever. It's just like, it's not as good right now, turn it down. What's the plan for turning it back up, and when will that be? That's the outlook to kind of have. And I feel like you guys have that. You put in so much work, like for your VSL. I mean, you guys like went. I mean, you like traveled. You did a whole shoot. You got a location. You. It was a lot more work than I noticed most people are willing to put in for one part of what is important to getting ads to work. And it's the most important element probably on your about page. So you put in the right amount of big effort on the right thing there. It's just most people aren't doing that, dude. You guys do it. You guys, and so I could see why people stay, and because if you're putting that level, I see you put that level of attention and quality too, and it just every comment on your group, and you have the interest. Everyone in your group has the deep interest in the topic, and yeah, so it's job well done. And I feel like for some reason, sometimes it's harder to sell these things than it is to sell the like make money fast, or like these like passion things. It can be harder to bring people to these like wholesome groups, as Sam calls them. But I really like the cause. I think that I've seen efficiency of groups like this get up close to like the make money fast groups. It's just a lot more upfront costs. It's like instead of weeks, it's like months. And
Yeah, it's a time horizon thing for sure. It's like you
yeah,
said, we've already talked about the patience thing. Like
yeah.
I've looked at school games is a good example, right? Like I'm always on there looking what people are doing, so on and so forth. And yeah, is there a potential you could do a big push, spend a lot of money, run a lot of ads, and do that thing? Yeah, sure. But like to be honest, like our structure is just not set up that way.
Mm,
Like we don't want to necessarily be set up that way. And we're not looking for, we're not looking to gain 1,000 members overnight, right? Like
mm,
we have time, we want to slowly build. Like so we have milestones established so that when we reach those, we take that tactical pause and we say, okay, hey, where are we where we want to be before we go into that next push or start that next ad campaign or so on and so forth. And that's kind of where we've been. But I think the is like you said, the wholesome groups, to me, they're just more sustainable,
mm,
right? Like that's the word. Like I'm not looking, to do this to then fund another thing down the road, or do this and buy a Ferrari or whatever the case. Like my goals and the vision of the company is to continue to build the brand of Razorback Tactical, which is the in person training company, our kind of our parent company, through the team room. But they both have their own personalities, though, and they both have their own ins and outs and intricacies that we have to work with and work around. But at the end of the day, like, this isn't something, there's a lot on the horizon for Razorback. There's a lot on the horizon for the team room. We have a lot of other things that eventually we would like to get into, but it all ties back to community. It all ties back to having and helping the people who are in there, and we legitimately want all these people along for the ride with us, because we're able to share our successes. We're able to share our failures. They're able to, we've done stuff not worked and been like, hey guys, it's a good try. Like, we tried it, didn't work out. Like, no one in the group's like, oh yeah, you guys are set up for failure. Like, oh, burn and die. Like, no one, like, people know, like, we have their best interest in mind, and we're trying to build something pretty cool here. And not everything we've done has worked, but that's fine. That's business. That's life. Business, that's life. Like, everything you do, if everything you did worked, would life be that exciting? I don't think so. I would sleep great every night. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm willing to lose a little bit of rest, knowing that there's things that need to get done. There's things that need to get actioned, and there's projects that need to get worked on. I'll tell you, Canva, dangerous application.
What do you mean?
Dangerous. Man, so much to do on that. I'm a massive mind map guy. That's how I do stuff. But I've always done some PowerPoint.
Oh,
because that's like the military standard of like briefs and things. I've always just done on PowerPoint. I'll tell you what, it's like an unlock.
You talking about the whiteboard feature, dude? There's all the ways you
Yes.
can color code. You got
Well, that, but
stickies.
just the ability, like, so I've added, so I just went, I've got a team account. I added me, Savannah, Phil, and then my oldest daughter, Elizabeth, on it. Because she's 14, she wants to start getting into, we don't pay her allowance or nothing like that. But she's getting that age where she needs a little money to go out and, be with her friends as she's, parading around Tokyo, in the shopping district. So we're like, hey, like, yeah, we're fine, but like, we're not just giving you money. So it's like, hey, like, let's bring you into the fold. Kids these days with like iPhone and CapCut can pretty much do anything. So we're like, hey, so my wife kind of came up with a strategy for as far as like compensation plan for her and creating videos. So we've tied her into some of the organic stuff that we're gonna start
awesome.
pushing out, because to me, it's a skill.
Yeah,
Like, it is a skill, and you can, like, I'm not like one of those, you don't need to go to college like type guys. Like, I've got my degree. I did it while I was in. I do think, again, I'm in the education space, so I understand the importance of good education. But I also understand the importance of having like critical skills that maybe aren't taught at kind of some of the lower level education systems, kind of like they should be probably taught. And she's been out to one of our pistol courses before and shot our pistol course. And, there's a lot of, to us, like, just goes into like kind of how, like, this is a family adventure for us. It's like it's a team event. It's a team adventure, family business for sure, from both my standpoint and Phil's standpoint. But like, yeah, getting on there and doing all that stuff, but like, it allows you to do so much collaboration on that. And that's like, if I could put a word on 2025, it's going to be efficiency. That's what we're really trying to really nail down. And not that we've been winging it by any means, but like, we haven't had, solid SOPs. We've had verbal SOPs, like we know what to do,
Mm-hmm.
but not something that's concrete and on paper. So as like our big goal 2025 is really like, how can we build efficiencies into what we're doing, and ensure that everyone kind of has their task and goes forward, because at the end of the day, like we don't have time to really think about what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to execute. And I think with a
Yeah.
good plan going forward, and kind of having a flow chart of who's responsible for what really delineates that. And there's no questions of, if someone's got a question about Razorback, who's taking it? If someone's got a question about the team room, who's taking it? Who's handling the organic? Who's handling paid? And who's handling, invoicing question, boom, goes to Savannah. So like we've just tied in all of these things that probably would have otherwise been conversations,
Mm.
and kind of taken some of those out. But like going back to the videoing of the VSL,
Mm-hmm.
me and Phil, we're best friends. So like we not just enjoy working together, but we enjoy just being in each other's presence. And both of our wives are great friends as well.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime when we can convince them that not
Mm.
only is this a good trip, to see good friends, but it's also a business write off,
Dude,
is
yes.
phenomenal.
Yes.
And yeah, we rented a very nice Airbnb on a lake, in Virginia, and yeah, we videoed. That probably took us 4 hours, multiple takes. Savannah behind the camera, holding up our teleprompter,
Mm-hmm.
and she would just be like, "Nope, run it again. Nope, run it again," and we just sat there, and did the thing. So yeah, it's I find ourselves very, very lucky from not just from a community standpoint within Skool. We're very lucky, just the people that we have on there, phenomenal individuals,
Mm-hmm.
professionals, multiple different industries, but from just a business standpoint, also very lucky to be working in the partnerships that we have, and kind of the reputation that we have both built just over our careers has kind of transcended into this company, and is kind of attached to it. And that's really important for us,
Mm.
because reputation is the thing that moves, propels you forward in the Marine Corps. When someone says your name, there's always something tied to it. And we want to make sure that we continue to tie that to good things and things that provide value, and that are worthwhile for people,
Mm.
to potentially spend their money on.
Mm. How are you? So with editing and with CapCut and content, how do you think about like making stuff for inside of school versus making stuff for outside of school? Are you clipping anything that goes inside your classroom for organic, and or do you just keep it all separate? How do you think about that currently?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's an ongoing conversation that we're having right now
Mm-hmm.
between me and Phil, because we use YouTube primarily for our video hosting.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have probably like 100 videos on there at this point. I mean, we have a lot of content, and they're all unlisted, every
Mm-hmm.
single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is public. It's all unlisted.
Mm.
We actually just we did a, talking about like partnerships. We did a partnership with Mira Safety. They're a gas mask company, and we sent two instructors out to teach them how to shoot long range weapons while wearing gas masks.
Mm.
Um, and that just dropped on their YouTube channel today. The
Ah.
episode just dropped. Um, and they're asking for our YouTube channel, and we have one,
Mm-hmm.
but there's
There's not a
nothing on it.
single thing video.
Um, Not a thing. It just looks like we've just been lazy and like
Mm-hmm.
opened it up and then said, "Screw it!" Like we're not putting anything on here.
Yeah.
We have loads of content. Um, I will tell you, when we film for Skool, it's always a very deliberate process. Um, we plan it, we script it, um, we make sure that what we're trying to get across is what we get across. And then I think for all of our other organic stuff, a lot of the organic stuff that we do comes from our in-person courses.
Okay.
So like a lot of the pictures, a lot of the videos, a lot of that stuff. And that we've had this conversation. One of the probably the another big things we're going to work on in 2025 is trying to bring on somebody who can be out there to video each of those courses.
Mm-hmm.
We have a person that does it right now, but it's kind of more on favor basis. So it's hard to, when it comes to like expectation management, when it's from that basis, it's hard to be like super, super critical.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we want to bring on somebody that can really envision our brand and then, like you said, film for the edit.
Right.
Because that's kind of the missing piece. It just looks more like a vlog than an actual, content that can, that would be consumable. But, something, kind of interesting that I've been, thinking about as we've kind of dived into how we want things to go and our brand in 2025 is like, we were at one point pushing a lot of like selling on organic with almost zero result. Same with like our email. We push a lot of stuff with almost zero result. And what I've kind of come to find out was like, those places for me is not really the place to sell. That's the place to either educate or entertain.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've kind of came to is like, well, the place we're going to sell is through paid.
Mm-hmm.
And then everywhere else. Because that's what you like, if you don't have a clear cut of like, hey, how are you? Now, I'm not saying you can't have CTAs, right? Like, I'm not saying you can't have a call to action at the bottom saying, hey, it's like, you want to find out more, like, here's this. But like, we were doing like direct, like, here's our 7-day free trial email, or like, we'd be like, we'd have stuff. So now we've kind of said like, let's just have fun with our emails. Like kind of like I love your guys' emails. And I'm kind of stealing some of your guys' templates to use on my own, to be honest. I love how they're laid out. I love that they're short. I love that I can, like, as soon as I see them, I know I can pull them up. I can read them in probably like less than 2 minutes. I can go through and read the whole thing, and then I have that information. And I'm not sitting there reading a novel. Because that's the other thing. I would make these like overly long, detailed emails and try to like give them everything. And it's like, and then you look at the data and you're like, no one's reading that. No one's reading that. So like short, Alex talks about the Mosey Minute kind of style of emails, which is, I think is a phenomenal idea. I think we're going to adopt something like that. I think we're going to call it the Marksmanship Minute.
Nice. That's perfect.
But like just tying it just straight up education, entertainment. And then same with our, like our organic, we're just going to throw it, just provide as much value as we can. But the other thing is we're looking at like, hey, what can we unlock for 2025 that we're willing to kind of put out in the ether on like YouTube and other things, like full form, like you get everything, it's free. And I think we've kind of decided on that is we were already planning in 2025 to kind of build out our field skills repertoire of classes. Right now we have a few, but it's not really where we want it to be. But I think all of that stuff is just going to be open to, and again, that goes kind of back towards like, we're in an interesting community because like inherently what we're doing could be, a skill that was used in a malicious manner. So we do have to be careful from that standpoint. But I mean, everything's out there on YouTube. Like you can find anything. Like there's nothing we're going to be teaching that like isn't already out there. But again, like it all comes down to how you like the brand that you want to build. It all comes down to how you perceive your content to be used. And I think we have it. Like I said, 2025 is going to be a packed year, but it's a good year. We're super, super excited about it.
Dude, I'm excited to continue to be a part of it, Stephen. I think we should catch up regularly. I'll have to have you on after your after January or something, like see where things are, see where you're headed, what you've learned from the start of the year attempt, because it's fun to hear your perspective. Like your background is really unique, and I appreciate the speed that you guys are going at. I think it's the right way to do it, and so I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, and we'll both have our Christmas gifts by then, and
Mm.
we can utilize them
Ooh,
while we're chatting.
have
So
a little hanging out and bourbon session. Mix
yeah,
our ideas
yeah. So
together.
that was a little sneak peek there. I think you're
Mm.
one of 5 people that know what the gifts are. I think you're one of
Mm.
five
And
until like probably today when they
yeah,
start arriving at people's doorsteps.
dude,
But
it's that
yeah,
school connection, dude. It gets you insider information. It's
it does. It
it's it's
does. That's
very
right.
nice. If
So yeah,
if
the nuke codes, UFOs,
dude,
and the team room,
yes.
the team room Christmas gift. You can
Yeah,
get all of it.
we're gonna have a whole New Jersey UAP episode soon. A little.
100%.
I'm a little concerned that like pretty soon none of this shit's gonna matter, Steven, because it's gonna be a different world because we're gonna live among the aliens that are presenting themselves to us. They're just gonna enter our civilization,
Who knows? Hopefully,
and
you
yeah.
know, yeah, yeah. It would definitely be an interesting topic. I can say it would probably be an interesting topic to have inside the team room
Mm,
because I think there are some people inside of there that have some probably very strong feelings about this stuff,
yeah.
um, and not to like spoiler alert out there, but like some of the stuff that we have kind of entertained based off of community input is like there's a lot of companies out there that are doing a lot of like current stuff, current like weapon stuff, but like not a lot of people are working on like future stuff. um, and I do, the future is here. Drones are a real thing,
Mm-hmm.
to be used either in a good way or a bad way. From our perspective, utilizing them as a means of protection is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing it in the military for years, um, and now because the cost of them are so low,
Mm-hmm.
you can get a decent drone pretty cheap these days, and depending on what state you live in, the laws and so on and so forth. But there's a lot to be said about utilizing them in a and we're a marksmanship company, but we do a lot of stuff in just based off of our experiences. So our field craft stuff,
Mm-hmm.
patrolling, working as team communications, even down to like hand arm signals, stuff that you think would are like the very elementary stuff that potentially can give our community the edge when it matters.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't know when the next natural disaster happens or the next, and at the end of the day, we're our community, us, like we're not preppers by any means. Like that's not a good term. We want to be prepared, and we happen to also really like guns.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that there'll be more people interested in what you're doing because of just the general strange, like, I don't want to say panic, but like people are like, what the fuck's going on? And the government's just like, nothing, like every day. And I feel like I've noticed this more and more people are like, are they going to, like, are you noticing anything
Yeah,
on that front?
yeah. I mean, there's anytime stuff like this happens, and this is it's everyone has a bubble,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everyone has a bubble, and depending on your level of tolerance, uh, depends on when that bubble gets popped, right? There's a lot of people who live in a lot of areas who have a very high tolerance and are kind of ignorant to a lot of things. It takes a lot to pop that bubble to where they're like, oh, a good one. This is Joe Rogan,
Mm-hmm.
had said one of his friends he had a friend that lived in San Francisco, and which I know is not too far from where you're at,
Yeah.
but you're not exactly in the city.
Yeah.
Uh, but regardless of how you feel about California politics, I lived there for a while. I'm intimately familiar with how that works. But they came home one night and there was like a dead person in front of the garage,
Mm.
and like they called the police. The police was like, "Is he dead?" Like, yeah. He's like, "Okay, we'll send somebody tomorrow to come grab him." And it was like, because I guess they were just their law enforcement system was just so like when it comes to prioritizing, like so stressed and just from time management, like that wasn't like a priority, right?
Mm.
And so like,
Yeah.
what did they do? Obviously, like they left. They probably dealt with similar stuff for a very long time
Mm.
until they're both like they had a very high tolerance,
Mm-hmm.
and it took that, right? Like for me, I have a much lower tolerance stuff like that. Like if once, but again, with that bubble also comes what your situational awareness is. So the more situational aware you are, the more capable you are in dealing with situations, whether that's just having a conversation with somebody socially or that's in conflict. How you deal with those things, your comfortability of dealing with those things, um, from a survival standpoint, right, is a big one. Especially you talk natural disaster happens in inner city versus the difference in a natural disaster happening in San Francisco and then and how it affecting you where you live, right? Like your ability to survive just based off of your geographical location, yours is like is like exponentially higher, like
Mm-hmm.
exponentially higher that you rather than somebody that is like lives in the city,
Mm-hmm.
just because of you talk about food, water, infection. You can go down like the rabbit hole of like sewage and the over like when major stuff shuts down. So again, I'm not a paranoid person like at all. Like I rarely get paranoid about a lot of stuff. And it's not that like I know stuff that other people don't know. It's not that piece. But for me, it's just like I have this level of confidence that if something does happen, that I would be able to handle that type of situation,
Mm.
and that my family would be able to handle that type of situation with me. So I think when weird stuff starts occurring, it starts popping bubbles,
Mm-hmm.
and people are like, "Oh, okay, I thought something. Now I don't think that way anymore, because something happened, and it proved that to be wrong." And in scenarios like that, when you're like, "This can't possibly be happening," right? Like that's like a lot of people's like things like, "Well, how could the government or how could these people let this happen?" Um, well, it's happening. you know
Mm-hmm.
like so like there's no like like the evidence is pretty clear. So the bottom line is like the bubbles get popped and then people start realizing, oh shit, I need to like and we get quite a bit of people like that,
Mm.
who come on, not crazy people. We do like this year, one of the first things that we implemented, again, something that kind of school helps us provide, from a monetary standpoint, is we're doing background checks now for all of our individuals come through the in-person courses. So if you
Mm-hmm.
come and you're physically in person with us in one of these courses, you've been ran through a pretty rigorous background screening check.
Mm.
And we just did that because we felt like we owed it to our instructors. We owed it to the other clients, our other teammates who are out there, from a safety aspect. And after last year, the thing that kind of solidified, we had always talked about, the thing that kind of like moved it up was the attempted assassination of President Trump.
Mm.
Because we saw that and we're like, man. And you put yourself in the shoes, and they name dropped some ranges that he went and trained at and some
Mm.
other things, that you put yourself in the shoes of those individuals, and the difference between hitting and missing in that aspect was training, without a doubt.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that would have been a completely different story if he was successful. Completely different story. And we just, again, we can't. what we do and what we teach can be inherently used in a malicious manner, as you could do with most stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're culinary school, like you could inherently use that for, poor stuff. But
You poison
for
some
us, we
people.
just,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, right. I mean, you can, if like malicious intent's malicious intent, like you can pretty much, I mean, we all drive cars. If you wanted to use that in a malicious way,
Yeah.
the heaviest weapon there
Do you
is.
know if a background
Um,
check on somebody like the guy that tried to assassinate Trump would have eliminated him from a group that was doing a background check? Did he have? Do you know this? Do you know if he had anything in the background?
so no, I don't necessarily, I can't speak necessarily to what his, I haven't seen any of the concrete, like actual
Yeah.
report. I know like what news agencies and have said, but I try not to quote them as much as possible
Hmm.
because I found that most of the time they're incorrect,
Yeah. Yeah.
or is half the story or whatever.
Hmm.
What I can tell you is,
The fact that
it
you
is
could catch some, the fact that you could
well. So
prevent
they're
it.
very in depth, and okay, we just started them. They will catch. They'll catch a lot,
Hmm.
right? They'll catch a lot. But here's the thing: if someone is hiding something, most of the time they're not going to voluntarily accept to
Mm-hmm.
do that, and that's just basically what we found. It's like if there's something that they're hiding, they're going to self-select themselves.
Mm.
It's just human nature. And again, if for whatever reason something were to slip through the cracks, no system's perfect. No, like we are also very good at what we do from from understanding people's intent and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
We can get a pretty good read
Yeah.
on people
I could
for
imagine.
sure.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have a lot of
When
experience in that.
yeah, just it's just mapping the human dynamic. We kind of can understand, and like we don't lose anything. Like yeah, like we like sure you're not gonna pay us the course fee or whatever, but like we don't necessarily lose out on much because we're here for the long game. So like
Yeah.
you know it's not that we would rather be on the safe side of things than
Yeah.
be wrapped up in something like that. That would be a less than ideal situation for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But even more so than that, we don't exactly have the best policies currently in place when it comes from who's coming and going inside the country. There's obviously a lot of outside agencies that would love to get their hands on the knowledge that we kind of reserve for U.S. only type training, and that's why we've kept it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been multiple cases in the past with other very very reputable training companies
Mm.
who have trained the wrong individuals. And
Mm.
I can tell you the background checks will 100%
Mm.
bring that to light.
Mm-hmm. So if you're
When they
listening,
don't have.
terrorists, get the fuck
That's
out of
right.
here, dude. You're not squeezing in. Get
That's right.
Go
Get out
somewhere
of
else,
school. You ain't coming to our
dude.
courses. Go back to wherever you came from.
That's
You're not
right.
infiltrating this,
Yeah. Please
right? You're not.
walk
No
away.
bourbon for you.
Yeah, you're
No
listening to
bourbon for
this.
you.
It's
All
not
right.
happening, dude. Yeah. Yeah. It's just to clear it up. Any terrorists that are listening, now you know. Also, like the idea
No,
that like maybe a terrorist would listen to this for that reason is pretty crazy. Like, and this would be the point where again, get out of here. So
yeah, that's
I'm
right.
gonna say it one more
Not
time because it's
not
cool.
welcome.
It's cool that I just
That's
get to
right.
potentially be talking to somebody that's because look, I won't even go down the. It's just too much. But now they know. Now they know, Stephen.
Now they know.
I think this is the best way to end the first episode with you, Stephen. I'm sure there'll be more. If
100%.
if people are wondering who you are, where to find you, where to go, what would they do?
Yeah, so primary means of comms with us. Obviously, you can go to our website. It's got all of our contact details on there. RazorbackTactical.net. That's RazorbackTactical.net, not .com. That has all of our contact details. It has our company phone number, some email addresses. I monitor the training at RazorbackTactical.net. That's the primary means that we kind of communicate between ourselves and customers. But obviously, all our Instagram, just Razorback Tactical, Facebook, Razorback Tactical, and then the team room, obviously, Skool/team room. So that's where people want to find us. That's where they are. We love when people reach out, regardless if you plan on signing up, don't plan on signing up, you need something. I'm on multiple phone calls a day with people who are like, "Hey, I really just have like one question." I'm like, "Shoot, give it
Mm-hmm.
to me. What do you got?"
Mm-hmm.
And I'll walk them to that. It's like some people don't necessarily want to do the whole thing, and that's fine. Again, we're just trying to kind of elevate everybody's skill level. We obviously offer the first 7 days free trial. But if that is not something that you're interested in, or there's just not the time, I sometimes just the money's not right. People are in between jobs. That's fine. Hey, just if you get a question, we're here to help. Reach out, and I'm excited to talk to you in the future on our -2,
Mm-hmm.
Devin. I think we can come up with some pretty cool. I know, like you said, this time we're kind of free balling, which
Yeah,
it turned out to be really awesome. But
dude, it's always the best.
um,
It's the way.
we can just hop on. I'm my availability is pretty for like your time zone
Mm,
is either like early morning, late at night.
okay.
So like it's 8:47 here in the morning
Mm,
in Japan. So like I think we start at 6:30.
6:30. Dang, dude.
Yeah.
Good
So
morning,
yeah,
Vietnam over there. Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, living the life.
dude.
So no, I really appreciate it. It's
Yeah,
been fun. I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you thinking of me and sending me the invite.
yeah.
And anything I can provide to further what you guys are doing over there, because you guys have been a massive, massive, massive help in kind of elevating the team room inside of Skool. And I have a debt of gratitude that I owe to you guys. So anything I can do, the minute I seen this email, I hopped right on. I was like, yes, I want to do this.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate
And
that.
it said, yeah, what would make this a win? And I'm happy
Mm-hmm.
to talk about whatever, but I was more so thinking like, hey, I just want to get in and kind of, spread the good word that like, yeah, you guys are the real deal. You guys are doing the real thing. You care about people. You care about the relationships that you guys are building inside your own community. I remember kind of the initial first days of being part of the Skool lab, getting on the live calls
Mm-hmm.
with you guys and Matt, and it was I knew right then and there when I was talking to you guys, I was like, this is going to be a relationship that is gonna provide me. Or hopefully provide both of us a lot of value as we move forward. So I appreciate your friendship in all of this.
Thanks, man. It's super mutual, and I feel the same way. I just feel like the people stuff that you were saying, where it's just it's just about helping each other. Like we help each other out, and we both benefit if we're just trying our best to help each other move forward. It really feels that way. It feels like as we're working on your stuff, we can have ideas. We'll give them to you. You'll have ideas. It's like it feels like we're in this together, and it's mutual, man. I really
Yeah,
appreciate our friendship
it's a
too.
team, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's where all this should start, and where it's all going to end. So it's all a team effort, and like if you have, if your mindset's right and your values are where they need to be, like that should be the goal for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we're going to continue to push forward in that matter.
That's absolutely true, man. Thank you so much. Thank you, Stephen. Bye, everyone.
All right, take it easy. Have a good one, guys.